I want to meet you.
Everybody okay with sage essential oil? Sure. I'm gonna pass this around then. It's just a smudge stick in the bottle to cleanse, reset your energy. You can just pass it up the row. Good morning. Good morning. So today, I do this. Yeah, you just kind of spray it around yourself and it cleanses the energy that you've picked up. Just walk around all day spraying it. So today we're going to talk about a theme that I bring up very often in my classes, and it's called Samskaras. Has anybody heard that Sanskrit word before? Maybe. And what it means is a pattern. And the way that I like to describe it is that we all have these samskaras that we go through in our lives, be it mental, mostly a lot of it's psychological, but it also can show up physically as well, where we find ourselves kind of stuck in a loop. I think about it like we've carved out a track for ourselves, similar to the needle on a record. Can I use that anymore? Like the younger generation.
It's coming back to retro. My father. Okay.
So, you know the little ridges in a record? So like that's a samskara, right? And the needle just fits just so right in it and goes around the loop. And what happens is we carve out these patterns for ourselves. Sometimes it's based on our experience. Sometimes it could even be something we bring in from another lifetime. We're just born to kind of work through. Sometimes it's a lesson we have to learn. Like if you've ever found yourself dating the same person in just a different form, like that's a samskara, right? Like you're not getting it. So you're there again. And our work is the first thing we have to do is recognize the cycle, recognize that there's a pattern thing, that there is a loop that we're stuck in, a little rut. Because we can't get out of it if we don't even know it's there. We don't know what it is. And then the difficult work is to pull ourselves out and create a new pattern. And that takes time. So what happens is we kind of pick up the needle and we move it. We say, like, oh, okay, I want to change this, right? This isn't working for me. I'm not aligned with this way of being anymore. So I'm going to pick up the needle and I'm going to move it over here. And it kind of does a loop and then it slips back in because it's comfortable. It's our old habit and it's what we're used to. And then we have to pick up the needle and move it again. It's kind of like carving out a path along the river where you have to cut everything down first. And then there's still grass and it takes a long time of walking it before it becomes this nice trail that you can easily see and follow and know the route of. So we're working with that all of the time. And it just came up multiple times already this morning for me with my husband who has this pattern of communication that actually is very tricky because it locks me into it. Like I have my own samskara with it that I hook in. And so I've recognized it in myself and I'm still working towards pulling myself out. But today was the first time that he really saw his and could recognize where it came from. I was like, oh, that's because when I was raised, I was raised with all these cousins and you had to be, tough and defensive and you had to kind of be protective. and to survive this kind of upbringing around a lot of older cousins. And so it was a big moment for him and for our relationship that he could shine a light on that. And then I was talking to my mom on the way here, who's supposed to have surgery on her eye for a cataract on Monday, but my kids got her sick. So I don't know if she's gonna, I don't know if she's gonna be able to, but my mom has this whole, she has trauma around medical procedures. She had really severe scoliosis as a child. She was in a body cast for a year of her life. And so she's a very bad medical patient. And she knows this about herself, but it's still something like she's stuck in that loop, right? Of that, it brings up all of our past stuff, kind of creates who we are in this present moment. And so how do we work with that? How do we work with that on our mat? And what yoga asks us to do is not just to come to class and to move and to breathe and to feel relaxed and stretched out when we leave, but really to shine a light on ourselves and to investigate and look deeper into who we are so that we can become one. Yoga means union, to yoke. So we can yoke together all of these different parts of ourselves to find more harmony, balance, really ultimately spiritual freedom from kind of liberating ourselves from our own suffering. And so when we come to our mat, yes, we move through these same poses again and again and again. Yoga teachers, I mean, we're not really creating new yoga poses, right? They're this, you've done them before, or maybe not, maybe there's some that are new to you, but really they're the same sequences in different variations. But the way that we sit in them, asana means seat or to sit, and it's how we sit inside of ourselves. That's different every time. And so we come to the mat and we start to move. And we say, we see our patterns. Like, are you someone who really has a hard time even just sitting here and listening to me because you want to get moved? Are you someone who is like, let's just talk because I don't really want to move? You know, like, what's your pattern with your physical body? What's your pattern with your mind that will show up on your mat? Where do you get frustrated? And when you get frustrated, do you take it on yourself? Do you say, like, I'm not good at this? Or do you project it outwards and say, why is this teacher doing this to me? You know, and like, I've done all of these. That's all of those show up for me. So absolutely no judgment here. But it's an opportunity for us to recognize and to see some samskaras that come up in our yoga practice because they're going to show up in our life. And here we can work through them in a way that's very compassionate, embracing all parts of ourselves, so that when things get tricky and tough and we're triggered and we're brought back to our past traumas and we're acting in ways that really don't have anything to do with the present moment, we can hold all of that off of our mat as well. We can embrace all of that, all parts of ourselves, recognize our shadow, and then we can work with it to bring in more illumination. So let's take a nice comfortable seat. Sit up nice and tall and close your eyes. And welcome your breath. Just feeling your breath as you breathe in gently through your nose, if that's available to you. And following the breath back out. And sometimes just this simple act of breath awareness can bring to the surface some emotions that we weren't aware of, that we didn't know existed. And we can start to see what it is that we're carrying. What patterns are we holding? It could be a pattern of misalignment in your body. So feel your sitting bones on your props beneath you. And see if you could tilt your pelvis a little more upright so that you roll towards the fronts of your sitting bones and your tailbone can kind of drop straight down towards the core of the earth. And then from there, you let your pelvis and your legs get heavy and grounded. And as you breathe in, lengthen up your spine from this place of being really rooted. And as you do, lengthen your side bodies, take your shoulders up, back, and down. And notice especially this pattern of tightness behind the heart in the upper back, and the tendency for the shoulders to round forward and to move closer together so that we kind of concave the center of the heart and close off our heart centers to the world, rather than draw the shoulders back, down, expand and lift the heart, which makes us more open and vulnerable. And then see if you could take the very center of your head and bring it right over the base of your spine. And come back to the breath. Then take one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly, to your solar plexus, covering these two major energy centers of the body. Kind of coming home to yourself and drawing back into your core being, this divine light and spark within you that's always present and never changes. And welcome your connection to that. Welcome your connection to yourself and this union of compassionately holding space for all parts of who you are. Honoring that and honoring your practice. Bring your hands together in front of your heart in Anjali Mudra, this offering of prayer, holding a little space for that flame, that divine light, right in between your palms. I invite you to set an intention for your practice today. Maybe it's just to notice one samskara that presents itself to you on your mat. Or maybe it's that there's a big one in your life you're working on, and to open to the possibility of working through that and letting go so that you could find a new pattern, a new way of being. And we'll begin our class and seal in our intentions with 3 cleansing breaths. So take a deep breath in and let it go. 2 more like that. Gently bow your head to your heart. Slowly open your eyes, release your hands. So the first thing we'll do is take a blanket and you're going to open it up so that it's pretty wide, like a rectangle like this. Maybe you're like me and you need to refold it. It's a lot of disorder in my life right now, so I'm taking it where I can find it. Order. Look, no chaos. So just go ahead, lay that down, and then you're going to roll it up. And this may be too big. This may end up being a little too much, and if it is, you could always just unroll it a little bit. It's going to come across your mat, and this is going to go right behind you. And a supported passive back bend. This heart opener. And you'll come to sit with your knees bent, your feet on the ground, your spine nice and long, and you're going to lower yourself down so that the blanket roll comes right behind the back of your heart, right under your armpits, so that you can take your arms to cactus, and maybe they would move down towards the earth. So kind of like right where your bra strap would be, maybe a little higher. And then arms come down, they can come straight out to a T. If your shoulders don't touch the ground all the way, that's okay. That just gives you some information about how tight the upper back is right now. But you want to be able to breathe. So while it might be intense, while it might be difficult to draw the breath in, which is a pattern in and of itself, this tendency to hold the breath when things become challenging. So notice that and see if you can draw in a deeper breath, being more mindful of the breath practice and process. And as for your legs, you could keep your knees bent with your feet on the ground. You could extend your legs long. You could take your feet as wide as your mat and let your knees knock in onto each other. I encourage you to try a couple different variations with your legs and maybe do the one that you don't always do. Even that's a pattern. We show up to yoga and they give us 3 options and we always take the same one because it's what's comfortable. It's what we're conditioned to do and where we feel safe. Keep the breath flowing all the way from your nose down deep into your belly. And with every exhale, see if you can let go and soften right behind your heart. You could imagine the front of your chest where your collarbones are getting a little broader, lifting a little higher. And then with every breath out, there's a little surrender. If you'd like to work with imagery, you could imagine that you're drawing in a beautiful emerald green light as you breathe in. And if that doesn't resonate, you could use the color pink. And as you breathe in this beautiful light, its energy is healing. And it allows you to feel safe enough to let go. Maybe you just let go of a little bit of tension or a little resistance to the pose, allowing your body to be held by the ground, supported by the props, kind of sinking into the pose a little more. Or maybe you're letting go of something bigger, a pattern of behavior that maybe you recognize as an issue and you don't know how to fix. I'm working with one of those right now with my kids. Like, how do I manage when I get frustrated, when I need a break? And the answer is not always clear, but the intention matters. The intention to release the pattern or just this awareness that it exists. There's so much power in that. So just a few more breaths here. Maybe you stretch the arms overhead. And then from here, you'll bend your knees and place your feet on the ground. If they're not there already, you're going to really gently roll to your side. And you're going to come up just so that you can move the blanket roll. And then you'll come back down onto your back. So come lay flat on the ground, on your back, extend your legs. Reach your arms overhead, take a full body stretch from your fingers to your toes. And then we'll come into a pose that's called banana. So to do this, you'll walk your feet over to the right corner of your mat so that you start to arch like a little banana. And then you'll cross your left ankle on top of your right, kind of just hook your foot there. You'll take your right hand to your left wrist, take a breath in, and as you exhale, arch over to the right. So now you're full banana shape like a crescent moon. Hips can press over to the left. And see if you can relax into this pose. And so now we get to notice these patterns that we have of asymmetry in the body, what's happening on the left side of the body versus what's happening on the right side of the body. And it's never even. Sometimes it's wildly drastic. So you just notice, breathe. You see where this feels good, where it may feel challenging. We begin to witness ourselves.
We step back from our own perspective of our experience being the main character in our novel, and instead we become the narrator, right? Someone who can see this objective perspective of our experience. Now inhale, come back through center. And then we switch sides. So you'll walk your feet over to the left corner of the mat and cross your right ankle on top of your left, arch your body over to the left, take your left hand to your right wrist. And see what's going on in this side. And if you have a lot going on one side versus the other, notice if there's a story, a pattern of how we talk to ourselves about it, which could sound something like, well, this is not good, right? Or like, what is happening here? Or maybe it's more like, oh, this hip just gives me so much trouble, right? This kind of self-beat where we can get down on our bodies. And see if you could let go of that and instead focus on your breath. So in yoga, the new pattern always becomes the breath. We see that there's an old pattern going on, and the way that we shift it is we just let it go and we breathe. We stay focused on what's happening right here and now, this breath in, this breath out. And then there's a surrender to what is, letting go of our resistance to the things about the present that we dislike, that we wish were different. There's an allowing, a receptivity. Inhale, come back to center. Another full body stretch here. And then exhale, hug both knees into your chest. You could give yourself a little massage on your low back if that feels good. And then go ahead and roll to your right. Come all the way up and set yourself up in tabletop. So for this, if there's knee issues, you'll pad your knees. And if that still doesn't work, then you can do cat-cow seated, which would just be cross-legged. And do the same cat-cow stretch there. But if you're on all fours, you'll take your knees just under your hips, maybe slightly behind, wrists under your shoulders, spread your fingers wide, index fingers point straight ahead. As you inhale, arch your spine, take your gaze up, soften that space right behind the heart center. Exhale, round your back. Inhale to arch, and notice the heart. Notice the space right between the shoulder blades. See if you could find a little more opening there, kind of like, oh man, for me, it feels like breaking up a little bit of cement.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes things get so tight that they won't open the first time, right? Maybe not this class. Maybe it takes a few classes, a few months, a couple years of practice, you know. Inhale, come back to neutral. Walk your left hand in just a little bit, just a little closer towards the center of your mat. And then inhale, twist open, take your right arm up.
Now, notice the tendency. So the pattern here for everyone is that you get your hips involved. Like, oh, look how much I can twist. And it's coming from your hips, right? So you want to keep your hips level, your pelvis level to the earth, and see if you could twist from your upper back. And maybe you find, oh, yeah, not twisting as much now. So that's a pattern in the body that we all have. Go ahead and switch sides. And it's where we exploit the areas where we're super flexible so that we can avoid the areas of tightness in the body, because that's not fun, right? Feeling where we're tight, constricted, where things feel stuck. We want to avoid that. So we're just like, ah. So see if you can walk it back. A few more breaths. Go ahead and release, and let's find downward facing dog. So take your hands wide on your mat. Index fingers point straight ahead. Send your hips up and back, and you can pedal out through your legs here, bending one knee, sending the opposite heel towards the earth. Press your hands down into the ground, stretch back, lengthen the spine. Now bring your awareness right to the back of the heart. See if you could soften the back of the heart. And find some external rotation in your arms. So we'll play with this in a second. And if this cue doesn't resonate with you, don't worry about it. But imagine that you could hide your armpits from the person next to you. A few more breaths. And then inhale, walk your feet forward to meet your hands. And exhale as you fold down over your legs. Knees can stay bent here, especially if the hamstrings are tight. And if your knees aren't bent, bend them. Pick your feet a little wider, outer hip distance apart. Keep the knees bent, and then slowly round up, stacking one vertebrae on top of the other until you come all the way up to stand with straight back. Okay, and then we'll come to stand in Tadasana on our mat, mountain pose. So we're all good. And we're just going to play a little bit with this area of the body. So the tendency for all of us, for most people, is to have the shoulders, which are, I like to refer to as the heads of the arm bones, right? Where your arm bones come to a head in your shoulder joint. The heads of the arm bones round forward, they come forward, right? So we feel this, we feel that this area gets shorter. Yeah, I'm gonna exaggerate it, but like sometimes we do this, like sometimes this becomes a pattern in the body. And then what happens with the upper back, right? It rounds, we get really kyphotic there. So what we wanna do is lengthen the side bodies. First thing is to get long, to give ourselves some space. And then the heads of the arm bones come up, they go back, they come down. The scapula can then draw onto the back of the heart, right? Like little wings. They kind of hold the back of the heart, okay? We all feel that. Now bring your arms down by your sides with your palms face forward. Now roll your palms so your thumbs turn in. So this is internal rotation. See how that feels in your shoulders? So that's what's happening when we're like this, when we're typing, when we're on our phone, when we're driving, when we're holding our kids, when we're doing everything. So what we want to do is find external rotation. So you rotate the palms forward. And do you feel that? Heads of the arm bones, how this then opens up, now broaden the collarbones. And your sternum, this bone right in the center of your chest, imagine that lifts. Does that feel like a different body? The tendency here is to, as we're opening the heart, we kind of pop everything forward, right? Exploiting flexibility. So you're going to draw your belly in, you're going to knit your rib cage in. So these front ribs have to pull in. And then can you still find the opening of the heart? Oh, not as easy, right? But we're working the patterns. Okay, from here, take a deep full breath in and inhale, arms up. Exhale, swan dive forward and fold. Inhale, lengthen halfway to a flat back. and pause. All right, so here we are, flat back. What's happening with the shoulders? Because now we're working against gravity. Are they in that old pattern, dropping down? Can you find that external rotation in the heads of the arm bones and broaden the chest? Keep that exhale, fold. Press down into your feet, inhale, rise all the way up to the sky. And exhale, hands to your heart. So now inhale, reach your arms up. So here it becomes a little tricky to find internal and external rotation with the shoulders. And it's kind of counterintuitive, like it scrambles the brain a little bit. So bring your palms to face me and then face them away. So this should not feel good. This is like impingement of the shoulders. This is internal rotation, even though it feels external, right? So now bring your hands to face each other. That's external rotation. Do you feel that you can draw your shoulder blades onto the back of the heart a little more? So this is what I'm talking about. Watch you don't have to do this. I won't make you keep pinching your shoulders, but watch my armpits. So this is what I'm talking about hiding your armpits. Do you see how when the arms are externally rotated, the armpits rotate in? Does that make sense? That's what you want to find in down dog. It's tough to find it there. Okay, let's try. So big breath in, reach up through your fingertips. Exhale, bow forward and fold. Inhale, lengthen to a flat back, and exhale, step back into downward facing dog. So now not only are the arms overhead, which can kind of scramble the brain, but they're weight bearing. So we can't rotate our hands, right? We can only rotate our arm bones. So see if you could find that external rotation by drawing the shoulder blades onto the back, hiding your armpits. So it's like the inner part of your upper arm is moving in towards your head and towards the backs of your ears. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Does it feel different in your down dog? Different is good. Now inhale, come forward to a high plank. Same thing here, shoulder blades draw onto the back of the heart. Press out through your heels. Draw your low belly in. Soften behind the heart. Reach out through the crown of your head, sternum lengthens. On an exhale, lower yourself all the way down. And pause here. Pick up your left leg, lengthen it, bring it back down. Pick up your right leg, lengthen it, lay it back down. Notice what's happening with your shoulders. Guaranteed most of us, they're dropping down to the ground, right? You have to resist this. Take your shoulders up, back, and down. So your chest is already lifted. You're already in a little back bend now. Now inhale, heart forward and up into cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Do that again in your own time. You can always bring your knees down and plank to lower as you move through vinyasa. Couple of breaths here. From downward facing dog, breathe in and take your right leg to the sky. Exhale, lunge your right foot forward. This may take a bunch of steps to get it all the way up. All the way up. Right knees over the right ankle. Good. Press out through your back heel. Lift your back thigh a little higher. Hug your legs in towards each other. Keep your left hand down. Inhale, reach your right arm up. Twist. Now bend your elbow. Take your hand to the head of your arm bone and curl that back. Curl open from the heart and then extend the arm from the shoulder. Couple more breaths. Notice the pattern when things get tough. When we're holding a pose that maybe doesn't feel good, that feels uncomfortable, or we're not sure about it, or we just plain hate it. Exhale, release. Downward facing dog. You can move through vinyasa. You can stay in down dog.
You can come into child's pose. We'll all meet in down dogs and switch sides. Left leg lifts as you inhale, lunge it forward as you exhale. As many steps as it takes to get it to the top of your mat so that your knee is over your ankle. Press your right thigh up to the sky. Hug your legs in towards each other. Keep your right hand down. Inhale, sweep your left arm up. So here we often think about, we're thinking about the arm, the hand, right? The movement's coming from there. So we're gonna change the pattern. Bend your elbow, bring your hand to the head of the arm bone. And this just gives you some information, right? Curl that back. Open up the back of the heart. And it's from that opening that the arm just extends. The arm becomes an extension of the shoulder rather than the arm leading the way. Breathe. Exhale, release, downward facing dog. Option here to move through another vinyasa, stay in down dog, or take child's pose. We're all going to meet in child's pose. So knees wide, big toes together. The child's pose doesn't work for your knees. You can lay on your back and hug your knees into your chest. And then here, let's come up just enough so that you could take two fists. You can stack your two fists on top of each other and rest your third eye, your forehead, right on top of the little stack. And then see if as you rest your head here, if you could melt the heart, if you could draw the shoulder blades onto the back of the heart and soften that space right behind the heart chakra. Just a few more breaths here. You can switch the stack of your fists. Keep melting the heart. Notice if your shoulders are hiking up towards your ears. Resist them down. Then come up to find a seat. So sitting cross-legged, move through a few rounds of circle of joy breathing, which looks like this. You'll bring your hands to heart center, palms in prayer. And then as you inhale, you'll interlace your fingers and you'll lift your elbows. Try to just lift your elbows and not your shoulders. As you exhale, press your palms away and round through your back. Inhale, reach the arms straight up, look up. Exhale, float your arms down, interlace your hands behind your back. Inhale, stretch your arms away, lift your heart, gaze up. Exhale, hands to heart center. And again, inhale, elbows lift. Fingers interlace. Exhale, press the palms away. Round your back. Inhale, arms up. Reach up, lengthen. Exhale, float the arms down. Interlace your hands behind your back. Inhale, stretch the arms away, lift your heart. And exhale, hands to heart center. Do it one more time with your own breath. Okay, now bring the soles of your feet together and your knees wide. Move the flesh away from your sitting bones. Press your feet into each other. Extend out through your knees. See if you can move more towards the front of your sitting bones. Inhale, lift your chest, lift your heart, shoulders back and down. Take a full breath in, and as you exhale, hinge from your hips until you find your edge. Right, fold forward until your body says, that's enough. And then pause there. As you breathe in, lengthen the spine, reach out through the crown of the head. And as you exhale, maybe you could fold a little deeper. At some point, if it feels good to do so, you could round your back and let your head hang and let this be a really yin pose. And by that, I mean you just do less. You see if you could relax more. So if this doesn't work,
Yeah.
can you do this? And inhale to rise. Take your hands to the backs of the thighs, draw your legs back in. Grab your 2 blocks. We're going to set up for a heart bench. Okay, we can't do all this opening without heart bench, right? So your 2 blocks will come like this on your mat. One at its highest setting for your head, and one at its middle setting that will run along your spine. There's so many different ways to do this pose, so you could play with it. Like this block could go this way. These blocks can drop down. You do want a little height differential between the two. So I just say start here and see how it feels. You'll come to sit, knees bent, feet on the ground, spine long. Exhale, lower yourself down so that the first block, you want it to start where you have ribs on your thoracic spine and run right in between your shoulder blades. And then the second block catches your head. So you may have to do a little adjusting there. You should still be able to breathe. Shouldn't feel any pain, any pinching, any numbness or tingling. You can take your arms down by your sides with your palms face up. So you're finding that external rotation in the shoulders, right? Opening up the heart. And then decide where you want your legs to be, whichever variation of your legs feels best. Knees bent, legs extended straight, feet together, knees wide, feet wide, knees together.
I'm trying to get that middle row. Look at it. There it is. I'm sorry, guys.
So here, take a deep breath in and a full breath out. Soften your belly. Relax your tongue in your mouth so that your tongue gets heavy and wide, on your lower palate. Widen the corners of your eyes and let your eyeballs descend back into their sockets. Make a little space between your lower jaw and your upper jaw. And give yourself permission here to let go of anything that's weighing heavily on your heart. Any grief, sadness, loneliness, any hatred, irritability. See if you can let it go. You can draw back in that beautiful green or pink healing light that resonates with the heart chakra. Just a few more breaths here. Then inhale very slowly, make your way off of your blocks, come to pause, curled up on your side. You can move the blocks off of your mat and give yourself a moment to just rest. Make your way onto your back. Take your arms out to cactus. These goalpost arms with your elbows in line with your shoulders and your wrists stacked over your elbows. So you're resting on the backs of your hands. Bend your knees, feet on the ground. Take your feet as wide as your mat. Take a breath in. And as you exhale, drop your knees over to the right. Inhale, legs back to center. Exhale, knees to the left. So you're just windshield wipering. So when we twist, one part of the body stays stationary while the second half twists. So in this case, the upper body stays stationary. You keep your shoulder blades on the ground. And the twist comes from the lower half of the body, from the legs and the hips. You could bring your gaze and your head into this motion, turning your Gaze away from your knees and then back through center, looking over each shoulder. A few more side to side. And then inhale, knees back to center, hug your knees into your chest. Take your knees wide, soles of the feet up towards the sky. Find happy baby. You can grab onto your shins, your ankles, the pinky toe edges of your feet. See if you could keep your heart open here, right? Keep that external rotation of the arms. Broaden the collarbones, lengthen the sternum. As you draw your knees down towards the ground, you could rock back and forth here or stay stationary. Really up to you. And if there's any other pose that your body feels that it needs, you can feel free to take that now and then set up for Shavasana in your own time. Getting as comfortable as you'd like, using as many props as you wish. You can cover up with a blanket, put a little blanket under your head. Use some blocks underneath your knees. Take time to make adjustments so that you can comfortably relax. Once you're in Shavasana, take a full breath in. Let it go with a sigh. Let go of anything that happened before this moment. Anything that's yet to come. Give yourself permission to fully relax, fully surrender into Shavasana. And Very gently begin to deepen your breath. Draw awareness back into your body as you start to wiggle your fingers, toes. And start to move and stretch in any way that feels best on your body. And in your own time, plug your knees into your chest, roll to your right side, and make your way back up to find a comfortable seat. Close your eyes, bring your hands together in front of your heart. Call back your intention that you set at the beginning of class and hold it here. Knowing that we can't control the karmic patterns that we experience in our lives. And we can't control how these experiences imprint themselves on our own hearts. But what we can control is how we respond to them and how we work with this energy. How we can shine the light of awareness on our own samskaras, recognizing when they work for us and when we're ready to let them go and find something that's more aligned with our true calling, our true nature, our soul's purpose. And then we move towards that. Let's end our class and seal in our intentions with 3 cleansing breaths. Take a deep breath in. Let it go. 2 more like that. And 1 final cleansing breath. Gently bow your head to your heart, honoring yourself and each other for your practice today. The light within me recognizes and honors this very same light in each one of you. Namaste. Thank you all so much for your practice and for being here with me on Saturday in Hometown Yoga. Have a great rest of your day and weekend, and check out there's some really good workshops coming up. There's like a spring yin workshop in a couple of weeks, and some other really good things. So check that out on the website. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thanks, Debbie.
Thanks, Erin. Sorry for the belated text. Day crazy. Thank you. Bye.